distance, we'll assume we'll try to push drugs to keep us all dumbed down and hope that they will never see the truth around. Another promise, another scene, another package lie to keep us trapped in greed. Another green bells wrapped around our minds, an endless red tape to keep the truth confined. They will not force us. They will stop degrading us. They will not control us. We will be victorious.
Hello, everybody. Thanks so much for tuning in. This is a very impromptu show. So thank you so much to my dearest friend Matt for helping my blind ass on the back end. So with Palestine Israel news, it's it updates every pretty much 5 minutes of every day. So I felt the need to do an additional show tonight and go live. For those tuning in who haven't before, I am 85% blind. So I do read the comments, but only after when I can use my blind accessibility device thingy. So, but I do read them. So tonight I wanted to do a show entirely essentially about Palestine and Israel, which I don't typically do. I usually do the week's news. I usually have guests who may or may not be related to what's going on, to the actual genocide. So tonight I'm doing a show strictly on that. I do want to give a trigger warning or whatever you want to call it. I am going to be showing some things as far as violence being done to protesters. And at the end, towards the end, a video dealing with mental health. So I do just want to give a heads up about that. I know we're all in a pretty dark place lately, but you guys are part of the reason that a lot of us, keep going because of this community we have. So we are going to start tonight with some breaking news from MIT grad students. Yeah, all right.
I'm standing in front of a protest and picket by MIT students, both undergrads and grad workers, calling on MIT to cut all research and financial ties with the Israeli Ministry of Defense. MIT, a couple hours ago, brutally arrested 6 grad workers and undergrads right behind me, including the vice president of our union, our grad student union. This is unacceptable behavior from MIT. The fact that they are willing to arrest their students instead of cut ties is unacceptable. We're here as the grad union because yesterday MIT suspended 23 undergrads and grad workers, effective immediately. For grad workers, this meant that 1, their employment was cut immediately, 2, they were evicted immediately from their on-campus housing, and 3, they were suspended from all academic and research activities. This is completely unacceptable, unjust, and illegal. And so we're here as the union, ready to fight for our coworkers. We know that we're strong together, and we know that when we fight collectively,
So that's bananas. That's something to think of. Not just are these kids getting arrested, they are losing their jobs, they're getting kicked out of housing. So not only are you using your First Amendment right that we supposedly have, unless people disagree, then it's obsolete. Not only are you using your First Amendment right, you are, because of that, illegally being arrested, a lot of times brutalized. You are losing your job because you're a grad worker and work within the school, and you're losing your housing. So your entire life is being turned upside down because you want to protest to stop a genocide. This is so much more than Zionists want to believe it is, because people risk everything to get out there in those streets. Everything. Their entire livelihood, their careers, these kids work their entire scholastic life to get into these Ivy League schools, or work themselves to the bone to get a scholarship to go there. And then they put it all on the line and get threatened to have their degrees withheld and things like that. This is so much deeper than Zionists want to tell you it is. To Zionists, oh, you're just a bunch of whiny assholes having temper tantrums. Yeah, no, it's actually not that. That's actually what you guys are. You guys show up by the 5s, 10s, and you hurl racial insults, aesthetic insults, get up in people's face, throw fireworks at them, become violent. And you do these things. Why? What are you risking when you're doing them? Absolutely nothing. Because the cops don't even give a fuck. The cops are solely focused on us. And they know that. And that's a free pass to be absolutely abhorrent. And you're going to see some of those videos. Matt, can you share the next video? Oh, yes. Well, let's get to this. Yeah, apparently there is a law that is being, floated, some potential legislation that would send all of us to Gaza. Essentially, what this means is, I'll translate. We want all of you protesters to also be unalived, as they make me say on YouTube, be unalived with the genocide. That's essentially what this means. They know that people are not getting out of Gaza. So by them wanting to send us there, that is a sentence, an unalive sentence, as I'm made to say. That's what they are saying. They are saying that we don't deserve to live. And I literally didn't even realize I was doing it, but I looked up to see if this person was Democrat or Republican. And afterwards, I'm like, holy shit, I looked this up. What's that tell you? 8 years ago, I would have been like, oh, that's totally a Republican. But now I looked it up. I'm not fucking sure. We're witnessing fascism, and it's certainly not just on Republicans. Matt, can you show the next film or clip? Oh, yes.
It's like, I don't know why they seem to, I'm not even sure what they're really, protesting about. If you ask them, they're not really sure. They can't, and now they're not talking about ceasefires anymore. And now they're talking about divesting and harming Israel on that. It's crazy. And they really just broke the mold yesterday when they had protesters at Auschwitz yesterday during the Holocaust, the 2-mile walk thing. I mean, like, how much more tasteless and disgusting that could be. They showed up with that. And as I said that it's actually working against peace in Gaza. And Hamas is convinced that they've won the PR war, and they keep seeing all these kinds of protests across the nation on these campuses. And it's not helpful, but it's actually works against peace, I think. Jewish Voice for Peace and the other ones, they try to pretend that they're like some grassroots kind of thing, and it's not. They're paid, and I have said this. I don't care if you're a protester, paid or not. If you're got to protest anything, you should be protesting against Hamas and demanding that they take the ceasefire, or they can just send all these hostages back home. And if then that's very clear. They've been showing up in my office in Philadelphia back in, I think, October, and it's not grassroots. It's just paid kinds of agitation. And Israel, it represents the kind of values that in America, and it's like we should be able to defend the Israeli way of life. And we can't ever forget, they are the ones that started this, and they're the ones that broke that ceasefire, and they did the most terrible things to babies, children, women, tortured, mutilating, systemic rape. And I don't understand why. It's undeniable that anti-Semitism is often at the center of a lot of this protesting and the speech that now is out there. And now Meta or Facebook is now like, well, is river to the sea, well, of course, that's calling for the destruction of Israel. And of course, that's hate speech, and it shouldn't be platformed by anything.
I don't even know, I'm not going to spend an hour talking about that, but I could. First of all, anyone who's seen my show or follows me on Twitter knows the first thing I'm going to say. I've fucking told you about this piece of shit for the past 6 years. So many of you did not fucking listen to those of us in Pennsylvania who have been protesting this garbage dumpster fire of a so-called person for 6 fucking years. He is atrocious. He is the bottom of the barrel in so many ways. And we have begged you to listen, and nobody would fucking listen. And now people are like, oh my God, it didn't take him long to sell out. Sell out what? He was endorsed by Hillary. Biden did fucking fundraiser events for him. So what? Why weren't y'all paying the fucking attention? All right. I know I've said it a million times, but it infuriates me as a Pennsylvanian who has protested this fucker for 6 years because of his bullshit. Anyway, so, yeah, we protest him all the time, but we have for years since he was elected as our lieutenant governor. He votes with cops 93% of the time. We call him Frackerman. I had him on my show. I confronted him about stuff like that. They actually used a clip from my show at the Pennsylvania debate with him. He hates me. Good. And so as far as that clip, saying those who protest him are paid, I can tell you I'm owed a lot of fucking money because I've never made any. And Jewish Voice for Peace are incredible. I've had some of them on my show. Some are coming back on next week. They are not paid. So wait to dismiss hundreds of thousands of Jews. Wait to dismiss that and say they're paid. It's not because they're passionate and loving and want to see an end to violence. You are anti-Semitic. That is anti-Semitism. As far as, saying Hamas thinks they won because we're falling for that propaganda, I don't even know what the fuck to say about that. I just, and from the river to the sea, go to my Twitter. You will see time after time after time that people in Israel have stated from the river to the sea, Israel. It is stated time and time and time again. But when Palestine says it, it is unacceptable. People tend to lose the underlying fact of all of this. Palestinians are brown, therefore they are terrorists. It's that simple. If they were white, this would not be a thing. It wouldn't. The way that people are attacking pro-Palestine, protesters who are people of color is a million times worse than white people are getting it. And you'll be seeing some of that. This is the amount. Look, none of us are going to deny anti-Semitism is a thing. We live in this world. We are aware. Sorry. But that's not what these protests are. Matt, excuse me.
Here's every ceasefire deal and prisoner exchange that Hamas has offered Israel since October 7th. October 9th, Hamas offers Israel an unspecified number of women and children being held hostage in Gaza in exchange for 36 Palestinian women and children being held hostage in Israeli prisons. October 16th, a Hamas official says they'd free all Israeli captives in Gaza in exchange for 6,000 Palestinian captives in Israel. October 17th, a Hamas official tells NBC News that they'd release all of their Israeli civilian captives if Israel agreed to stop bombing Gaza. October 28th, Hamas's leader in Gaza offers to release all of the Israeli captives in Gaza in exchange for all of the Palestinian captives in Israeli prisons. This proposal, more commonly known as All for All, was a demand widely adopted by Israelis protesting against Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. November 17th, Qatari negotiators proposed a deal where Hamas will release 50 Israeli captives in exchange for a 3-day ceasefire. Hamas agrees to the general outline of the deal. Israel refuses. January 2nd, Hamas proposed a 3-phase deal where Hamas releases 40 Israeli captives in exchange for a gradual withdrawal of Israeli forces from Gaza and the release of Palestinian captives. In the last phase, Israel would end the war and Hamas would release all of its Israeli captives. Israel rejected this offer. January 18th, members of the Israeli government make a proposal to Benjamin Netanyahu to reopen negotiations with Hamas. He refuses. January 22nd, Israel rejects a deal where Hamas would release Israeli captives in exchange for the release of Palestinian captives, a withdrawal of Israeli forces from Gaza, and accepting Hamas's leadership in Gaza. February 7th, Hamas proposes a 3-phased, 4.5-month ceasefire, where in the first phase, Hamas would release all women, children, ill, and young male Israeli captives in exchange for the release of Palestinian women and children being held captive in Israeli jails. In the second phase, adult male captives on both sides would be exchanged, and then in the third phase, remains of the dead and an end to the war. March 15th, Hamas offers to release Israeli women, children, elderly, and sick captives being held in Gaza in exchange for 700 to 1,000 Palestinian captives in Israeli prisons. And most recently, yesterday, Hamas offered to participate in a proposed 3-stage deal where, in the first phase, Hamas would release Israeli female prisoners for 50 Palestinians held in Israeli prisons each. After 11 days of ceasefire, Israel would begin to dismantle its military structures in Gaza. In the second phase, there would be a halt to all military activity in Gaza. And then in the final phase, the war and Israel's blockade on Gaza would end, and the reconstruction process would begin. Israel rejected this deal. Now, you might be saying, well, what about all of Israel's proposals that Hamas turned down? But all of Israel's proposals so far have been for temporary ceasefires. In other words, they would stop the fighting long enough to allow Israel to get its people out and then decimate Gaza without having to worry about killing any Israeli hostages. This is fundamentally different from the ceasefire that Hamas and the vast majority of the world want, which is a permanent ceasefire that would end the war. Now Israel is trying to say that they have no choice but to invade Rafah because Hamas refuses to negotiate. But this is obviously a lie. If Israel really wanted its hostages back, it could have had them back 7 months ago. This was never about hostages. Israel's been relentlessly carpet bombing the very place their hostages are being held and have killed an untold number of them. Israel is actually very clear from day one what this genocidal slaughter was all about. They said they would wipe the Gaza Strip off the face of the earth. They said they would bomb it so badly that Gaza would be a place no human being could exist. This was never about hostages. Hostages were always just their excuse to justify the extermination of a people and destroy its ability to resist.
That is such a good video. I am definitely bookmarking that. You know, people tend to forget just how many times Hamas has put offers out there. And he's absolutely right that those were all temporary ceasefires. So, I guess that video is a day or two old. So 2 or 3 days ago, there was talk about ceasefire. My husband is like, "Oh my God, I just got a blurb. There's going to be a ceasefire." I was like, I'm going to wait because, yeah, I mean, we all know that's bullshit. And we have, the ICJ for months saying we're watching you, don't do more, and they haven't stopped. They've only gotten worse. Israel is not exactly, a state that is going to just stop because of an agreement. It's not going to happen. So I actually asked a gentleman in Gaza who I was DMing with on Twitter, and I said it was like an hour after the news broke that a ceasefire deal was supposedly happening. And I said, do you feel any better? Do you feel any safer? Or like, do you feel any relief whatsoever? And he said, I'm sorry, no. And I was just like, my heart broke in a million pieces, but I knew that was going to be his answer. I mean, and I have to, this is conjecture, but I have to wonder what the hostages do think, because, they're the ones who have been there for 7 months. And when they come out, they're going to be like, wait, what do you mean? They've offered to let us go like X amount of times and you kept saying no? I thought you wanted us back. It's insane. Absolutely insane. And even at this point, Zionists absolutely refuse to acknowledge that this is not about the hostages. It's not. The guy in this video is 100% correct. It never was. So we know for a fact that even if all 73 or 68 or whatever there are, if all of them were released today, this absolutely would not stop. It would not. That is the only so-called leverage Hamas has at this point. So, however you feel about the hostages, if you are that upset about that, you should ask Israel why they unalived some of their own hostages. Because they did, and they admitted it. So, and considering there's over 7,000 Palestinian prisoners in Israel who have never officially been charged with any crime, and all we hear about is these 68 or whatever hostages, it shows the willful ignorance of so many people, including so many Americans. It's sad. It's sad. Matt, can you play the next clip?
My commitment to the safety of the Jewish people, the security of Israel, and its right to exist as an independent Jewish state is ironclad, even when we disagree. My administration is working around the clock to free remaining hostages. Just as we have freed hostages already, and will not rest until we bring them all home. And my commitment.
So, whenever you bring up the numbers and the ratio, not to diminish or dismiss anyone's life, regardless if they were on colonized land or Palestine, not to diminish any life. But when you're talking about 1,200 people, over 600, which were IDF, and you're talking about over 40,000 people and 2 million who are unhoused, no school, no hospital, over 1 million are injured, over 16,000 children unalived. If you're just tuning in, I have to say that, or my show is taken down. You know, no medical care, no food, no water, no electricity. And you're trying to compare. The selective outrage is a cancer, because can you even fathom if half of what is true, of what is going on in Palestine, was going on in Israel? Every person in the fucking world, including Zionists, would be in the streets. But because it's Palestine, only people who truly care about humanity and who are not Islamophobic and not racist and actually care and are anti-war and anti-imperialist, we're the only ones who are in the streets. It would be totally different. And that's what's so sad, because there is no regard for Palestinian life. When we see footage nonstop of Israeli people taking, the very minimal, food trucks and cutting open the bags of rice and pouring it all in the dirt and laughing and things like that. That is psychopathic. That is, nobody would do that unless you are an absolute psychopath. And we see things like this every single day. But it's okay. What else do we have, Matt?
Go. This America. Back the fuck up. Say something. Say something. Yes, right. It's America. Back the fuck up. You fucking pussy bitch. Go back to Palestine. Go to Palestine.
That's what we're trying to do, piece of shit. That's what we love to do. We love to. We love to. We love to.
Yeah, no, it's not. No, it's not. You go around the back door. Like, all you want to come here, right? Fuck out of here. Fuck out of here.
Get the fuck out of here.
I swear, say something. You faggot piece of shit.
Homophobe too. We love it. We love it. LAPD not doing shit. Amanda's assaulting students. Look at you. Amanda's assaulting students. Amanda's assaulting students. What the fuck do y'all do? Y'all sit here and record. What are we paying y'all for?
What are our taxpayer money going to? Just wondering. You're still fucking standing there. That man's walking down the street. He's strolling down the street. Y'all fucking standing there. Oh.
That is terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. They would not even acknowledge them. They sat there on their phones. That is so terrifying, especially for people of color, women, disabled people. Him yelling, people are being physically assaulted, is not enough for them to step in. And then he goes over and they look at their phones. I don't understand how anyone could not be ACAB, especially after seeing this shit for the past few months. How could you possibly not be ACAB? I don't get it. I don't. Matt, what's the next clip we have?
I want to ask you about something happening as we sit here and speak, and that, of course, is Israel is striking Rafah. I know that you have paused, Mr. President, shipments of 2,000-pound U.S. bombs to Israel due to concern that they could be used in any offensive on Rafah. Have those bombs, those powerful 2,000-pound bombs, been used to kill civilians in Gaza?
Civilians have been killed in Gaza as a consequence of those bombs and other ways in which they go after population centers. And I made it clear that if they go into Rafah, they haven't gone into Rafah yet. If they go into Rafah, I'm not supplying the weapons that have been used historically to deal with Rafah, to deal with the cities, to deal with that problem. We're going to continue to make sure Israel is secure in terms of Iron Dome and their ability to respond to attacks like came out of the Middle East recently. But it's just wrong. We're not going to supply the weapons and the artillery shells used that have been used.
Artillery shells as well.
Yeah, artillery shells.
So, just to understand what they're doing right now in Rafah, is that not going into Rafah as you define it?
No, they haven't gone into the population centers. What they did is right on the border, and it's causing problems with right now in terms of with Egypt, which I've worked very hard to make sure we have a relationship and help. But I've made it clear to Bibi and the War Cabinet, they're not going to get our support if, in fact, they go in these population centers.
Yeah. Matt, can you show the next clip and then we'll get into it. This is Rafah.
قليل من رفح الفلسطينية، حيث أفاد مراسلنا بوقوع تبادل لإطلاق النار بين حماس وإسرائيل بالقرب من بوابة معبر رفح في الجانب الفلسطيني. وأشار مراسلنا إلى أن طائرات الاحتلال تنفذ أحزمة نارية عنيفة في محيط معبر رفح البري في الجانب الفلسطيني. وأشار إلى استشهاد وإصابة عدد من المواطنين الفلسطينيين جراء قصف الاحتلال منزلا في منطقة أرض البراهمة بحي تل السلطان غربية مدينة رفح الفلسطينية. إذن هذه الصورة وردت قليل من رفح الفلسطينية للانفجارات القريبة من معبر رفح، وهذا بتنفيذ القصف الجوي لطائرات الاحتلال على هذه المنطقة، وهي المنطقة التي قالت عنها إنها آمنة. ويبدو أن هذه الصور تظهر عكس ما يقول جيش الاحتلال. قليل.
Okay, so to be clear, that was okay. Now, if they move it a couple hundred feet over, that's wrong. But that was okay because it's on the line. It's on the border of Rafah. Now, forget about the fact that people are continually injured or killed because of the fact that the debris falls or fires from explosions, what have you. It doesn't matter because it technically happened on the border. So the way that people are trying to justify and rationalize this and try to equivocate, like, this is semantics. It's, an attempt at justification for doing this. Biden forever said this is the red line. This is the red line. They cannot go into Rafah. The one so-called good thing about that interview was he legit admitted that our bombs, our United States bombs, have unalived people in Palestine. He admitted that. We all know it. Anyone with a brain knows it. We're the ones supplying it. But he admitted it. And I thought for sure he'd use it as a chance to obfuscate and say, well, I can't be certain, but Matt, what's the next clip?
Hello.
Oh my God, I don't like you.
You don't like me?
No.
Where are you from?
Israel. Israel.
I'm from Palestine. It doesn't mean I don't
know.
like you. You know my TikTok?
Yes.
Do you follow me?
No. Because you love Palestine.
What's wrong with loving Palestine?
Because it's Palestine too.
But I'm Palestinian. Does that mean I'm a terrorist?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I'm a terrorist.
Mm-hmm.
Really? Do you want Palestinians in Gaza to die?
Yes.
All of them?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh my God. Hello.
These are kids. I don't think I even need to say anything about that. But do follow him. He's wonderful. Matt, I can't see his at. Can you put it in the comments by chance? I adore him. He's wonderful. He puts himself out there and he lets people dial into his like live stream type thing. 99% of them are Zionists. And he really puts himself out there and people know they're being recorded, but they don't hold back. Okay, what do we have now?
A picture is worth 1,000 words. New York Zionists cheer the deaths of Palestinians during a die-in. They spit on and stepped on the protesters as well.
Wonderful. So, as activists, we do, die-ins. I tend not to because I find they can be triggering for some people. But die-ins are quite common. We've done them, for healthcare and things like that. And just these kids' reactions, it just speaks volumes. What do we have next?
Sidewalk. Fucking disgusting. You're promoting anger and destruction, and you promote hatred. These are the kindest people on the earth. Fucking sign out of this country. Why don't you go back to whatever fucking country you came from? Wow. It's not a melting pot of terrorists. It is a melting pot, but not of terrorists. You're a fucking piece of shit.
I have not done anything to you, and you are sitting here cursing at me and yelling at me. So.
I hope you get burned. Don't even look at me. You make me sick. Kill babies, kill the Jews. You're so proud of that. You should be in jail. You should be held at one time. That's where you should be. You shouldn't even be in this country. And get the fuck away from me.
Free sidewalk. You can leave if you'd like.
You agree? Thank you. See, people won't say it, but they fucking hate you. Because you're disgusting. See, you agree? You fucking stir more hatred than Osama bin fucking Laden. Get the fuck out of my face, you asshole. Fuck you. I'm gonna call the police for you harassing me.
I'm sorry, who stirs up hate? Unhinged as fuck. And what I find extra offensive about this is that her dog looks exactly like mine. And Duchess, hi baby. She heard her barking and she's not a fan because Duchess is very, very pro-Palestine. Very. So yeah, that offends the fuck out of me because she looks really identical to my dog and that lady can fuck off. But that's, just wearing this creates this explosion in Zionists like, oh my God, you're a terrorist. You're so hateful. And it's like, the woman was literally just standing there. And she's like, I'm going to call the cops because you're following me. What are you talking about? These people know they are being recorded. That's what's so crazy. They are so unhinged that even though they know they're being recorded and they're going to be put on blast, they still don't stop. Whew. Matt, what's the next video we have?
And then you need to get free. Yeah, put those little ones in the oven, just like you did over in Israel. You're evil. You're terrorists. Why don't you leave America? Where's your plan? These are American plans. Yeah.
Something you're going to find with a lot of these videos is that Zionist women have the most fucking obnoxious voices you will ever hear. Sidebar. But it's so maddening that Zionists are still spouting those lies that were absolutely disproven, and even by Israel itself. They came out and said that did not happen. Even the White House walked back that claim. People are still saying it because their narrative is not as strong unless they say something really intense like that. So making it up and playing a victim for things that never happened is very powerful in that mindset. Whereas we only need to show pictures in a video we don't have to make anything up. We are seeing a genocide. Matt, what do we have now?
Why?
Yeah, don't, you cannot take anything.
What?
You cannot take anything.
Look.
Get away!
You love.
Get away!
Why am I getting away?
Get away!
I'm playing with my son here.
Get away!
You can't.
I told you to leave.
She's attacking me because I'm wearing a scarf.
I told you to leave.
Don't come near me and my son.
Get the fuck out.
I'm not gonna do that. Don't come near me, though.
Don't take
If
pictures
anyone
of me.
else is gonna say anything,
Don't take pictures of me.
I've got a baby.
Get away!
I've got a baby. Huh? Scarf, and I'm getting attacked because apparently I'm a terrorist.
So I've noticed this with Zionists. The lady before said it too. Get away from me as they're going up to someone. That doesn't really track. So this guy has a baby and she's throwing rocks at him. Yeah. That speaks for itself. Matt, what do we have next?
Hebrew Palestinian means invader. The Muslims on the wrong side of history. On the wrong side of history. A bunch of racist liberals. Wrong side of history. That would be scared if Hamas came through. You have a bunch of white kids from Connecticut, boys. Yeah. That's why you're gonna run to Israelis to protect you when World War III happens. You're a bunch of backward cunts. You're a bunch of pussies who don't know shit about war. Out of the street. Out of the street. You're a bunch of pussies. Spoiled pussies from Connecticut or some shit. Shut up.
Can you ask them to be out of the street too?
Did I ask just one person? Hebrew Palestinian.
So the best thing about this video is even his co-Zionist took the flag and walked away because of just how vile he was getting. That's pretty fucking funny. Like, even he was even getting too vile for his friend. Like, that's intense. You are the company you keep, dude. It doesn't matter if you take both sides of the flag from him. It doesn't matter. You're standing with him in solidarity. It's all you, dude. What do we have next?
Streets. Post it. Author Lauren Wise. That's my Instagram. Author Lauren Wise. You should be raped and dragged through the streets in front of your kids. That's what you
Okay,
do.
thank you.
You're addressing Hamas. Hamas, a terrorist.
Thank you. Thank you for your name.
No.
Thank you. Have
no
a nice day.
problem. I think you should fucking, all of you fucking idiots who think that it's Palestine against
Donc, dans le fond, cette folle, elle vient, elle est en train de m'attaquer.
Yeah. I'm not attacking you.
Elle est en train de
I'm saying you're a
m'attaquer.
fucking idiot for sitting here with your
Ok,
followers.
t'as un problème, ma chérie. Viens.
You're fucking
Okay, c'est good.
stupid as fuck.
Okay, thank
Tell
you.
that to all of your friends. You're stupid as fuck.
Okay.
You don't understand what's fucking
Okay,
going on.
So the interesting thing is sometimes Zionists give out their name. So to me, that means that they're going to try to get that one person, the one person to be like FUB or something, and then they're going to screenshot it and blow it up. Look what someone said to me. Even though it's, not a good way to respond, they don't show what they were responding to, of course. But giving out your info like that is a way to promote yourself and also a way to play victim when people come at you like what you said was disgusting. Matt, you can play this one. Like I said, Zionists have the most shrill voices. She sounded like a dying bird. So the thing about that is, we're seeing that again and again where you are seeing someone who is not being touched whatsoever. No one is even coming toward her to the fact that she would feel threatened, but because she's an older woman and has a sign that says love, mind you, she's behaving like this. And it makes it so much more unsafe for people of color, but also for Jews. This, when I've had people from Jewish Voice for Peace on, they have explained this, and so eloquently, way better than I can. But, it makes them feel unsafe. The way that these things are portrayed, like pro-Palestine, protesters are, being physical with people and intimidating and brutalizing, that makes every single person, especially people of color, Jewish, and what have you, that much more unsafe. And that's the number one thing to take away from this. It's not just abhorrent because they are absolutely lying, even though they are on camera, they are still lying to try to get cops to come. And I don't know what they're hoping for. I guess just them arresting people for standing in the vicinity. I don't know. But regardless, even if they did, the full video is going to come out. So sad. Matt, what do we have next?
Fuck Palestine! Palestine to my dick!
What do you think the response should be from Netanyahu and the military to Gaza?
Kill all Palestinians! All of them! Not one left from the river to the sea. Palestine will be deceased! And Israel need to do like this. You see? Now Gaza. Like this. Gaza need to do like this. Or like this, but all this Jewish. Two options.
What do you think the response should be
What do you
to
mean?
Gaza?
We gotta wipe them off the fucking map.
I'm
talking about every fucking flatten them like a parking lot.
Yeah, wait.
Flatten them out once and for
There's
all. Get rid of that.
nothing else you can do. They proved to us that there's nothing else you can do. We tried, and
We tried everything. It doesn't work. We have to wipe them flat off the fucking map, like a fucking parking lot. I'm not stopping till all Arabs are wiped out.
I think now it's the time that we need to erase Gaza. There is people inside, our people inside, that kidnap, and now we need to kill all of them and free Israel. All of their belief is killing Jewish and killing and murder our people.
Flatten it. Flatten Gaza.
that will be the last war in Gaza.
This will be.
Yes, it should be.
As I said earlier, Israeli supporters do say from the river to the sea, and it is not considered anti-Semitic. What these people in this video have said is literally genocide. People will say, it's not a genocide. Hamas wants to do genocide. 1,000 people is not genocide. And again, it's not to minimize any death whatsoever. But starving people, taking their medical supplies, blowing up their hospitals, these things are done for genocide. That's what this is. And the way these people in this video commented, flatten it, turn it into a parking lot. How is that not genocide? How? Matt, what's next?
What I think is a often overlooked part of this battle is we kind of just think these things that are happening across college campuses especially are like a sideshow. No, they are the show. Because if we lose the intellectual debate, you will not be able to deploy any army in the West ever. And of course our adversaries, but I think
Good. Good. That is good. That means that these fucking war hawks are literally scared. They are fucking scared that this has upset us enough that it will stop them from being able to be imperialists. They fucking said that out loud. That's beautiful. And we should all be proud as fuck that even one of them thinks that. And an imperialist saying that he feels threatened, that he won't be easily able to conduct war anymore. That is fucking amazing. So anytime you feel sad, think of that. That's why we're fighting. Cry about it. Matt, what's next? Okay, this one. Grab tissues. I warn you, it's kind of long, but and Matt, if you could put the link in the comments, every single person should share this stream.
Hey there, Western world. You happy now? You satisfied? You satiated? Did the over 40,000 Palestinian deaths on your plate fill you up to your heart's desire? Were the 17,000 Palestinian children palatable enough for your taste buds? Has this satisfied your taste for hate and racism? Did this genocidal buffet achieve all your gluttonous desires? No? You want more? Well, you're in luck, because here comes the last course, you grotesque, miserable pigs. Just as Hamas agreed to a ceasefire and a release of their beloved hostages that they never gave a single shit about, Israel rejected the ceasefire deal in order to execute the last phase of their ethnic cleansing. Not only were they already indiscriminately bombing the safe zone of Rafah during the negotiations of this deal, but they were also dropping bombs just as they dropped leaflets from the sky, ordering 1.5 million Palestinians, including 610,000 displaced, injured, diseased, and starving children in the safe zone of Rafah to evacuate to God knows where. There's nowhere left to evacuate. They drop these dystopian leaflets as if they are a show of good faith, while they literally are dropping bombs in tent cities at the exact same time, so that the piece of shit Western media can report that Israel gave a population of 1.5 million people trapped in a space equivalent to an airport to evacuate to nowhere. All the while, Israel has raided and shut down Al Jazeera in Gaza, the only major news network able to share the truth to the world, thus resulting in the brave journalists and civilians on the ground in Gaza fearing for their lives, having to be our eyes and ears as they document the massacres for us to share to the world. And Israel has now officially begun their ground invasion, where they will quite literally walk the streets killing anything on sight, with tanks surrounding every single hospital and building, housing innocent civilians seeking refuge, waiting for the moment they walk outside to blast them to oblivion. Do you all understand the repercussions of this ground invasion? Every single video I've ever made, exposing each and every population affected by Israel's onslaught, which happens to be every single category of human, embryos, infants, toddlers, early school-aged children, teenagers, adults, elderly, disabled, all those with pre-existing conditions, and even the fucking dead, where they desecrate the cemeteries and steal dead bodies, has now come down to this. Every single category of human is now sheltered in Rafah, trying to survive in the last southernmost point that is literally walled off, to be slaughtered like herded sheep with nowhere to go. This invasion of Rafah means the closing of the Rafah crossing into Egypt, which is the only passage for everyone to exit Gaza. The closure of the Kerem Shalom crossing means the halt of humanitarian aid entering Gaza, which will catapult Gaza into the most severe famine of our entire lifetimes. It means all patients with life-threatening pre-existing conditions like kidney or cardiovascular diseases or cancer that require medicine or vital medical equipment will inevitably die. And that's aside from the literal mass graveyard Rafah is about to be from this indiscriminate bombing and ground invasion. And what can we do about it now? Nothing. We now will have front row seats to the live broadcast of the Rafah massacre, the last phase of Israel's ethnic cleansing of Gaza. This is the absolute red line, the last straw, even for Biden's genocidal ass, who deliberately said not to invade Rafah, yet not a peep from this old sack of shit and his complicit cronies. But I don't give a fuck about them anymore, because we already know they're currently under the table, satisfying Netanyahu as we speak, getting ready to provide that lubrication via weaponry that they so desperately need to fight an unarmed, dying population. It's the Arab leaders I'm looking at now. We all have been waiting for that last straw, which was the invasion of Rafah. Everyone said there is no way they will invade Rafah, as the UN said that it would be the most catastrophic humanitarian crisis to happen to a population in our modern history. But here we are. It is happening. Just in the past hour, I have seen children taking their last breaths, begging doctors and their parents to reattach their arms, children with their necks severed from their torsos, and their hands sticking out from the rubble. This is just in the last hour. And you abhorrent little cowards are sitting there watching with popcorn in hand. Yes, I'm speaking to you, Sisi, bin Salman, Abdullah, Mikati, Al-Assad, Rashid, and Nahyan, and the rest of you useless blood money receptacles. We have officially reached the last straw, and no action from you. Nothing. You might as well just sit there while they destroy our holiest Al-Aqsa Mosque, or Mecca for that matter. You're watching them spit on every single Arab on this earth while they laugh and taunt you at the same time. You're all disgraces. You're all shams. You're all cowards. You're all khaybin. You're all khayneen. You're all dajjalin. You're all il-kharar brijri. I have never been more serious in my life. We are all about to witness the most gruesome, horrific images coming out of Rafah. And we're going to make you see it all. Because not one fucking slaughtered life will go in vain. On my life and everything I hold dear, I will not let one single one of these murders go in vain by being silent or losing any energy for the cause. And I'm here to tell you, neither should you. In fact, I need you to be louder and more disruptive than you've ever been. Because every single man, woman, and child, dead or alive, are counting on you now. You let this shit go and stay silent at this point, then you're allowing this to happen to anyone else on earth, including you. And when the time comes where you are directly affected and you reach out your hand to me, I'm going to walk away with my hands up in the air for you to fend for yourself. Because I will never forgive and I will never forget this. For as long as I live and breathe. As many of you know, I'm currently being censored completely, with no ability to collaborate with my peers on anything, nor am I able to even like posts or follow anyone. Like many of my peers, Meta is actively and strategically attempting to tie my hands and muzzle me in the most critical juncture of our history, which has been the expose of our Western world corruption. But I will not be silent, and I will not shut up. But I also do need your help in getting this message to the masses in any and every way possible. Because there's only so much I can do and only so much reach I have alone. You are now our army of informants, and we need you more than ever. Please, I am begging you. Peace and love, and may God help all those in Rafah.
How do I even sum that up? He's so right. This video to me was definitely one of the most powerful, expressive, poignant videos that just exemplifies how so many of us are feeling. And he's right. This is the ultimate, what we're witnessing right now. But we have to keep going, because if we don't, every single protest we've done, everything we've done, everything we've posted about, every action we've organized or been to, it means nothing if we give up. We have to keep going. But every single thing he said was so valid. I reached out to him after I watched that video the first time to explain the effect it had on me. And he was very nice, and I think it's hard to even tell someone who does a video like that, what it meant to you. It's like, I didn't even know what to say, how to put that in words, like how powerful that video is. Definitely share that on every single platform. Matt put it in the comments. Please share that. That is something even people who are Zionists need to see, not just those of us who actually agree with him. That is something everyone needs to see, They need to know what is really happening and the severity. I think he said it all perfectly. Matt, what do we have next?
You don't like it, go back to Iran. Go back to jihad. You don't like it, go back to jihad.
You are literally.
I'm literally in your face. That's right.
You're disrespecting my religious
Why are you wearing a mask?
Like,
You're so
literally.
you should be happy with what you're doing. What's your what does this have to do with religion? You're spewing hate. What does this have to do with religion?
Get the fuck out of my face.
No. Get the fuck out of here. Yeah, who invited you here? Go back to jihad. Go.
Hate crime.
You're not working.
Hate crime. Hate crime right here. Cop, what are you doing? Hate crime right here.
What's the problem? You guys have an issue? What do you say about the 7th of October? You have an opinion about it? You also glorified it? You're happy about it?
They were literally
or the
standing
FBI, huh?
You're literally just
You
standing
take off the mask. You're proud. You're proud, no? From what? From what? For a bunch of terrorists? What do you guys think?
So that guy, who called her a bitch and stuff like that, that was up in her face and going like this. He's a college professor. But he's on suspension. The internet's a beautiful thing because these Zionists think that they can be so repulsive and get away with it. But literally the day that video was posted, there were so many of us calling that college. I don't know how many of us called, but a fucking lot of us did. And an ethics professor, you know, the thing that's so insane is that you think about this and you think about it as a professor, how many Muslim students he's had, or how many Muslim students he would have, that he would, like, that's what he would think of them, and the way he's behaving likely say to them. How disgusting. What does this have to do with religion? Exactly. You are right on that. It doesn't. It's not anti-Semitism. However, that is Islamophobia, because you're telling her to go back to jihad because of her hijab. So, yeah. But that's a very small, somewhat victory, I guess you could call it. What do we have next? Oh, this is from us Tuesday night here in Harrisburg. Our wonderful Governor Josh Shapiro, who has received money from Israel, of course. He's an AIPAC friend. He also, we actually have a number of Palestinian people in Harrisburg, and many Arab Muslim, people as well. So this is, Shapiro finally agreed to meet with Palestinian people who are his constituents in the Harrisburg area. He met with 10 of them for over an hour. After he did not post one thing about Palestine. Within an hour, he posted his devotion and praise to Israel. This event that we protested was a banquet sponsored by Lockheed Martin. So the interesting thing is, an email was sent out that said that the event was canceled. I think it was because of the protests. We were online saying we were doing this, we were posting in places. I think that's why. Because this was a day-long thing, and not only did the banquet not go off, they didn't show to the event earlier in the day, which they were going to protest as well. So I kind of feel like there's no way they would just like not show up unless they knew shit was going down. But here's a clip because we still held it down for about 3.5 hours outside. From the river to the sea. I love that song so much. That's going to be stuck in my head for like 8 days now. I love it. But yeah, I think we held it down for, you know, just a Harrisburg group of us. So I think there was probably at least 50 people there, I would think. But yeah, it was great. Now, what was not great was there was a lone Zionist, a lone counter protester. One, her sign said "we." I don't know who "we" is, but she was across the street. She was videoing us and taunting us with like these like dances and stuff. She's very weird. And when counter protesters show up, I always make it absolutely 100% necessary that I film them because I want to make sure I have their face on camera just in case they do something stupid. And I walked across the street because I wanted to have her face on camera, you know, and I stayed away. She did not. So here's what happened. Here is a singular protester.
Thank you, sir. Hi, baby girl. Do you know that this Coca-Cola is a Israeli-owned company?
I do.
Do you know your cell phone, your smartphone? Who was that invented by? Israel. You're welcome. Yeah, it was. And can you tell me what river it was? When they say from the river to the sea, what river that is that?
Keep going. I'm learning.
You don't know?
Oh, no, I'm learning. I know. I'm learning.
Oh, last night we had some watermelon. It was fabulous. So refreshing. It was great. We sat on the back porch and spit the seeds out. It was delicious.
That's a psychopath. She got up in my face. Spit the seeds out. It was delicious. Like, Zionists are fucking nuts. Also, Matt, can you bring that up and just show, like, just like pause it on like when she's up towards my face? People on my Twitter were killing me. She actually, I'm assuming she thinks her necklace is a Star of David and it's a fucking pentagram. Not kidding you. It's literally a fucking pentagram. And there's an up close picture on my Twitter. I should have sent it to you, Matt. Oh my God, it's a legit pentagram. So I think she's confused. Oh my God. Baby girl. I do love the curtsy though. Thank you. So yeah, but looking back at that, my comrade Elias Cepeda, who's been on the show a bunch of times, some of you guys know his writing. He was like, he DM'd me and he's like, "Are you okay?" And I didn't think about it, but I was like, I'm pretty fearless sometimes, and I probably shouldn't be. Like, I'm really oblivious to the fact that that chick literally could have decked me when she got up in my face, but I was just laughing. And as someone who's disabled, who goes to a lot of events by herself, that's probably not a good idea to do what I did. And it's not the first time. You guys, if you watch my show, you saw I went up to some counter protesters last month. There were 3 of them, and I got up and I was like, okay, talk to me. And I was real not far from them, and they could have very much attacked me as well, but I don't think about it. And which probably isn't smart, being a mostly blind person. Um, hindsight's 2020, pun intended. What else do we have, Matt?
So this is a message to Joe Biden. Now that Rafah is being totaled, the red line that you impose has now been crossed. You yourself said that Rafah is a red line. So what are you going to do about it? I mean, we all know the answer is nothing, but that doesn't bode well for you, does it? This is a message to Rishi Sunak. A while ago you said that we want you to win. Is this what winning looks like? The fact that Hamas have provided full ceasefire, the documentation that they provided gives all the things that Netanyahu wanted. Release of the hostages, access, everything else. And yet they're still going. So is this what winning looks like to you? This is a message to Keir Starmer. You know how you didn't call for a ceasefire before, and you said that Izzy has a right to defend itself. But now, of course, you are calling for a ceasefire. Does that mean all the people that you sacked from your cabinet and all the various MPs that you kicked out of the party for calling for a ceasefire, are you going to reinstate them? Are you going to apologize? No? This is a message to Benjamin Netanyahu. We know exactly what you're doing. First of all, it's only going to be the north. Oh, then it's only going to be the south. Oh, now it was not going to be Rafah. Oh, but now it is. Those far-right ultra-nationalists that are propping up your government, they are not going to want to stop anytime soon. So you've made your bed, mate, and history is not going to look very kindly at all from your cell in The Hague. This is a message to all of those world leaders who have sold their soul and their conscience for just a little slice of power. Are you happy with what you've done? Are you comfortable? Because this isn't going away. We aren't going away. An entire generation of young people that you have sold down the river, we have the ability to write your future and your history. And are you going to double down and continue to lean into a fascist discourse just to maintain your little comfortable way of life? Because if you are, then what comes next is entirely on you. And believe me, you will not come out of it well at all.
Yes, I love him. I love him. He's wonderful. That's all I got to say about him. I love him. What else is next? Okay, trigger warning. This is about mental health, but it really, really resonated with me, and I think it will resonate with at least some of the viewers watching.
If you support and are advocating for Palestine, can you please leave me a comment? I'm feeling so alone and I'm feeling so crazy. I'm away from my home where my community is, where we all support Palestine. And I'm on a very short trip with my family, and all of them are Zionists, and I'm the only one who is not and who is advocating for Palestine. And I've tried to have so many conversations with them in the past about all of this and why genocide equals bad, basically, and why Biden equals bad. And it always ends with me in tears. I'm feeling like I'm alone and like I'm crazy. And that is what is happening now. And when I get like this, it's really hard for me to reconnect with that sense of community, especially because, like I said, I'm away from home. So if you could leave a comment for me, that would be really greatly appreciated. I love you, and free Palestine. And if you ever feel like you're alone and you're crazy, I promise you, you're not. It's just the people you are surrounded by that are making you feel that way. You are on the right side of history as always. Free Palestine.
Damn it, I'm trying not to cry again. I love her so much. I sent her a message and I'm like, I love you. Like, you're amazing, because she is so right. There are so many of us who have people in our lives who are like, I thought you were a good person. Why? And it's almost unfathomable that people that you thought were like good people, for years in your life are either standing by or defending what Israel is doing. And you can't overlook that. You can't. This is, there's this divide now. I can never look at people in my family the same again. I don't care how close we were. I don't care if we agree on every single thing in the entire world. If they are not standing up for Palestine, there will always be a divide. Always. I will always see that Israel flag on their forehead. Always. And this young woman is so brave to talk about that. And it really hits home to the way so many of us feel, especially at like these freaking like, holiday dinners or something. You got, God damn. The last holiday dinner I went to, a friend of my sister-in-law's came and she was talking about how great Bill Maher is. I can't and could not keep my mouth shut. It's just like, you feel like you're fucking insane. Like seeing people around you who you care about just MSM, it's like all they watch is fucking MSM. And I don't want to say, I've said this on before, and there's no like delicate way to say it, but the mass majority of people who watch media on the TV, MSM, are older people. And there's no nice way to say this as they die off. I apologize. I don't know how else to say it. Independent media will become more of a thing. And I hope in my lifetime, it might not be, but I hope, sooner rather than later, we start seeing people like CNN and MSNBC, going down the toilet because of lack of viewers. Matt, do we have anything else? Watch the kid.
Thank you.
My boys from Due Dissidence said that to me. They're supposed to be coming on the show Monday, by the way. That little kid, that is how you fucking parent. Right there. That little fucking kid. Yes. By the way, I saw Rage after them being my favorite band for 25 fucking years. I saw them in New York, and it was the last show they ever played. And now they say they're never playing again. So I saw them at the last fucking and they played with Run the Jewels, and it was epic. Oh my god, it was so good. It was so good. I just got goosebumps. Oh my god, it was a fucking dream. 25 years in the making. I cried. I was like, oh my god, I'm finally seeing right. I think I'm one of like millions who like can say that they were my first like political like experience, my first political, you know, I didn't know the fuck Che Guevara was. I didn't know who Leonard Peltier was or Mumia. I had no idea who these people were, you know, and it's like this band who is so fucking powerful and like musically is just fucking musical gods, but lyrically they just taught me so much, and I know there's millions of others who could agree. So I know I remember seeing on the day that Rage was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, Zach De La Roca went to DC and marched for Palestine. He's like, fuck that. And I'm like, this is why I love them, because they are their lyrics. They don't, you know, they still, you, if they fucking didn't support shit like this, and not just support it, but get the fuck in the streets, like it would rip my fucking heart in a million pieces. But they're fucking badasses. I love it. I love it. I think we have a funny.
We have one funny. I'm here.
And this is true. Like, it's not even like, y'all know how I feel about RFK. But this is, he really fucking said this.
So, RFK Jr. says doctors found a dead worm in his brain.
Like, that tracks, right? Like, I legit thought brain worms was an insult. I didn't realize it was a thing. Like, you could literally get worms in your brain. I did not fucking know that. I did not know that. But the question is, why in the flaming fuck would you tell people this?
Yeah.
Especially when you're fucking running for president. Who asked you? Who asked you, dude? Who the fuck asked you? Did you ever have brain worms? Like, who the fuck asked you? Why did you need to say this? Why? Did I ever tell you about the one time I had worms in my brain?
On the plus side, I have a new thing I can worry about all the time.
I know! Like, oh my god, I feel like I'm like, ew. Okay, so Matt and I were talking before the break. It's things like this. This dude has to be an op. Like, come on. He's a fucking mess. I mean, he's a mess. An absolute mess. In every way possible. And this, come on.
It's too much for me.
It's too much. It is too much. I mean, thank you. Thank you, RFK Jr., because instead of pissing me off, you actually made me laugh for once. Good God. I really want, if there's a doctor watching, can you please send me a DM and tell me about brain worms? Because this is fascinating to me. Actually, I don't know if I want to know. Maybe I don't want to know. Because, like, if I Google it or something and I look it up, it's going to show pictures. And then I'm like, ew, I just got goosebumps. I don't want to know. I changed my mind. I don't want to know. Ew.
Yep.
Good God. Well, thank you so much, you guys, for tuning in on that note. You're welcome for leaving you guys with that.
Yeah.
We always like to
Dream.
leave it on a funny because we talked about some deep, heavy shit tonight. But it needed to be discussed. So, actually, I have some really exciting things coming up. But I do want to say that Rep Rob, RAAB of Philadelphia, I met up with him 2 weeks ago, and well, last week and this week. You guys know how I feel about politicians, but he is amazing. Yeah, there he is. He's been protesting since Vietnam War. He's awesome. And he protests for Palestine with us, and like he does it all. But I told him about 1881A and how Biden has the ability to give East Palestine, Ohio, and surrounding areas healthcare and hasn't. And Rep Rob was like, "What do you mean?" And I explained it to him, and he's like, "Well, what would it take for him to do it?" I was like, "Signing an executive order." And I explained how, like, and Rep Rob went to East Palestine on his own. Like, he showed up at an event they were having, a community event, and they were like, "Oh my God, you're a rep? No way. Can we, like, can you speak and stuff?" And he's like, "No, I'm here as a human being. I'm not here on the clock. This isn't, I'm here to talk to you." And the residents, I cannot tell you what it meant to the residents. I cannot tell you. So the fact is, he said, "You know what, Joy? I want to work on a bill. I want to do legislation for the House to have the House members sign on to demand Biden gives them 1881A." So Rep Rob and I are working on that, and we're going to bring in some residents, and at the very, very least, people will be talking about it. So even if it doesn't pass, people will be talking about how Biden could be helping these people who are getting fucking cancer, could be helping these people who are having seizures and tremors, could be helping these little boys who are bleeding when they fucking pee, could be helping these young girls being told they'll never have kids in their life. All this shit's fucking going on for 15 months now, and they don't even have fucking health care. So he could have done this, and he could have done it when he went to, after over a year, when he finally went to EP, and he didn't do it. So I'm thankful for Rep Rob saying, "You know what? Okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to write legislation." And so I'm happy as hell. And I know that, the residents are certainly looking forward to it. So yes, that also I have some great guests coming up. I see a lot of people. Let's see. Yeah, there's over 50 people watching on Twitter. Please click and switch over to YouTube. Hit the like and the subscribe so it actually helps my algorithm. If you just watch on Twitter, it does nothing for my channel. So it definitely helps if you come over just for a second and hit like and subscribe. So thank you guys again so much for tuning in. Also subscribe to my TikTok. I've been doing quite a lot of videos on there lately. It's just Joy Marie Man. But yeah, thank you so much for tuning in. Show on Monday. The fellows from Do Dissidents are planning on stopping by. So I will see you then. Much love. And thanks again, Matt.